31-10 shellacking against the Jets next on the Unbearable Sports Podcast.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron, and welcome back to another great episode. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already out on YouTube. And also, you can download the Unbearable Sports Podcast everywhere you get your podcasts. Also, if you're a sports bettor, you can use BetUS and use promo code Unbearable and get 125% back on your first deposit. So also links down in the description as well if you want to, but just gamble responsibly. But today we are breaking down 31-10, a big loss from the Chicago Bears against the New York Jets. But as we always do on this show too, we're going to look at the bright sides and we're also going to look at the realistic side of things too. What's good and what's bad. And let's break down the number one thing. This isn't even one of my takeaways, one of my 10 takeaways. We have the number 2 pick in the draft, right? Let's get some claps up in here, right? Number 2 pick in the draft. And why that's so important, why that's so crucial is because that number 2 pick, there are 2 good quarterbacks, like 2 surefire number 1, number 2 quarterbacks in the draft. I'm not saying we're going to draft it, right? I thoroughly believe we should not draft a quarterback, but someone else wants to. Think about it. If, let's say, the Raiders are the number 4 pick in the draft, if I'm Ryan Poles, I'm just calling up every GM that needs a quarterback saying, hey, what would you like for this pick? What do you want for this number 2 pick? Who do you want? Who do you want? Bryce Young? We got him. What do you want to trade? And I love that because the Bears could just go back 2 spots. I just ran a trade with the PFF Draft Simulator, and I trust what they have with a lot of the different trades. Obviously, you can make a trade go through if it's like 10%, 20%, but a lot of them are saying you could probably get a number 1 draft pick if you just trade it back a couple spots, right? So that's what I'm thinking is if we can get that number 2 pick, and out in the comments, Jay Capone, think about it. And he's asking about Anderson or Jalen Carter. I love the idea if we move 2 picks back, right? If we have the number 2 pick and it holds that way, you move 2 picks back, you move 3 picks back. Think about it. Carolina might be there. Even Detroit. There's so many QB needy teams out there. You move a couple picks back and you could still pick up a Will Anderson, a Jalen Carter. Big person for us to look at is Will Levis out of Kentucky. He's the quarterback that hopefully he starts doing better, because if he starts looking good, then if we have a top 5 pick, it's easier for us to trade back and still get a blue chip prospect like a Will Anderson or a Jalen Carter. And would be insane, but it never happened. But I love the idea of it. Also, Bam Bam Sam, love the show. Love you having you out there. Let's actually go to what you said. I didn't even watch the game because I knew we lose. Plus Fields wasn't playing. I totally agree. I was actually really tempted to play some Skyrim. Honestly, I have an extra TV so I can watch multiple little games. And I was like, should I play Skyrim? No, I have to watch this game because what wasn't the best. So Bam Bam Sam also says, I say we trade back quantity over quality because there's a lot of holes in this team. Agreed. And hopefully with our free agency budget, we're able to pick some more people off and add a lot of people. And when we go through some of these takeaways, you'll see what my kind of takes are on this. So I'm hoping, we can get and keep that number 2 or number 3 type of spot. So we got to root for bad teams to win, and we got to root for this team, not root for it to lose, but take a loss a little bit easier. You know what I mean? But also we have one of the hardest schedules remaining, which plays to the factor that we might be able to get a top 5 pick. Seems very, very realistic. So let's see. So let's get this show on the road with my top 5 takeaways from the offense. I actually just have 5 this time because since Fields wasn't out there, it's not as exciting, right? It's not as exciting as we saw before. But let's go into my 5 takeaways. Number 1, everyone is injured. And if you're watching on YouTube, you saw the thumbnail, you're like, 8 injuries? Yeah, 8 injuries today, or that's as many as I tallied up. There might even be more that we just don't know about, right? And who are these injuries? Trevor Siemian with the oblique at the very beginning of the game. Obviously, he was able to play through it, did not do too well. As Bam Bam Sam said, sad to see no Trevor Siemian QB powers, right? Like we didn't see that out there. We didn't see him running out there like we want our quarterbacks to. But also Darnell Mooney went down. We really need to look at that. Hopefully it's not, I wouldn't mind if it's season ending, but I would mind if it's a larger scale injury, right? Because then if he gets banged up, then you can see what everyone else has. You know what you have in Darnell Mooney. You would like to see if Fields can be back, that they can play more, but you just really, really hope that it's nothing crazy because a lot of rumors say that the Bears want to re-sign Darnell Mooney at the end of this season. Also, EQ St. Brown, we saw him go down. Seems like he always goes down, so we'll see if that's actually anything. But for those people that, I mean, not those people, for every fan that wants to see more Chase Claypool, you don't hate that EQ goes down at all. But Claypool did go down, so we don't know the severity. Is towards the end of the game. Then we also saw Riley Reef go down very early at that right tackle position. Then even Larry Borum went down later on. Bojack, I feel like this is season ending for him. He just went down and obviously gave up a touchdown because he couldn't do anything, but it looked like a foot injury. And last but not least, very quiet, Dane Cruikshank went down because the dude just gets injured. All right. He just gets banged up, it always seems. He always seems to be on the injury report because I'm like, why isn't Cruikshank out there? Oh, he's been out as well. So 8 people that I tallied up that got banged up during this game. So I don't know what they're going to do with the injury report because it's going to be huge. It's going to be absolutely huge. And I'm not looking forward to it. Right. But I don't have many updates with what's going on with it just because everyone's injured. Everyone's banged up. And like what Bam Bam Sam's saying out here, really love Bojack. And he's the heart and soul. I totally agree. When anybody went down, he was still the leader. He was still the true trooper out there. So when he's down, you don't have veteran leadership out there, right? Like you have Jalen Johnson, but that's 3 years in the league. DHC, maybe with the old regime, could be a leader, but not right now, right? Like there's really no leader out there. So that's what's very difficult with what's going on. So yeah, but let's go over to our number 2 takeaway. Number 2 takeaway. Oh yeah, this doesn't even talk much about the game itself. I was texting one of my buddies who's a Packer fan, and he's like, "So what's going on with this Bears team, right? What's going on with Fields, and what's happening next week with the Packer game, right? Packer week is this week." And I said, "It's just going to be Fields drama. I personally don't think Fields plays. I hope he doesn't play, but we're going to have some really crappy Fields drama going throughout it, right? We're going to get the same exact like." Hey, he's day to day. We're not going to say anything. We're not going to disclose anything. That's what they're going to be doing all throughout this week. It's going to be annoying, but that was one of my takeaways. I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we go again. Right. And Renewable saying, put me in, coach. Yeah, he can go a play or 2. Okay, let's go. Right. I think if everybody, all the fans of Unbearable Sports, we can just gather together and we can just, maybe we could be like one unit, right? We each have a couple plays. We each get knocked out, and we can see what the insurance policy of the NFL is, right? We can all be out there. So Renewable also brings up Brisker as the up and coming leader. Totally agree. It really stunk not seeing him out there. So, so yeah. But let's go to number 3. Let's actually have a legit takeaway about this offense, right? This is my legitimate takeaway for this offense is it's nice to see a control quarterback. So what I mean by control quarterback, some people might take that the wrong way. What I mean is like in science class, in the science experiment, you have your control, right? You have this person, you have this experiment that's basically what is it in its normal environment. So you kind of run it, and then you base everything off of it. It's nice to see a different quarterback just so we can see and compare to Justin Fields. Because if you look at the numbers, Trevor Siemian, 14 of 25, 179 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, sacked twice. Now, also 4 carries for 8 yards, so 2 yards average. Now, the reason why I thought that this was really nice to see is you saw at the very beginning of the game, you saw us instantly throw for like 100 yards, right? And it's like, oh boy, I was expecting all these people to be like, all the Justin Fields haters saying, see, look, you can pass it to any of these receivers. Fields sucks. I could see people saying that. But what you saw was later on, they game planned and they started whooping up on Trevor Siemian, right? It seemed like he was maybe 8 for 11 right out the get-go, and then he ends it 14 of 25. So he really didn't have this great game. It was nice to see how he played, but also what I really liked is he did throw it to people that were covered. And that's what I liked because you have that on tape and you can show it to Justin Fields. So you can say, look at this Chase Claypool pass, right? We all know Justin Fields doesn't like to throw it to covered receivers, which sounds really dumb and stupid when you say it out loud. Like, you got to throw it to covered receivers. It's really to give your wide receiver a chance at the ball, right? That's what you want to see. That's what you want to do out there. And you saw that with Chase Claypool. You saw that with the Byron Pringle touchdown. You gave your wide receiver an opportunity to make a play, and they made a play. Should you do that all the time? Probably not. Hopefully they can at least create some separation, but you need to put it in a spot for them to score a touchdown. And that's what I liked seeing out of the Trevor Siemian. And that's where I hope that people can kind of feel good that we can see that, put that on tape, and then hopefully that's even a coaching lesson for Justin Fields. But let's also go to my number 4 takeaway. And also, Jay Capone is already kind of alluding to this. Keep Darrynton Evans. He's efficient, unlike Ebner. He's a liability. Preach. I love it. And my number 4 takeaway is Ebner was benched. Finally, old cement shoes is not out there. And you saw it, right? And it's not saying Darrynton Evans is the greatest thing in the world. Darrynton Evans, he at least averages over 3 yards a carry, right? 4 carries, 94 yards, 3.8 average, and also got incorporated in the pass game, 1 catch for 33 yards. And the biggest thing about this is he's just solid. He can pass block, he can catch, and Ebner can't see the hole, right? And when we saw him out there, he couldn't pass. He couldn't do a lot of these extra little things. So that, to me, was a big sign that don't have him out there. And I'm glad that the Bears ended up not putting him out there. I didn't see him on offense. So I really, really like it. So also Reload says, don't worry about it. We got off season. Exactly. Off season. I'm excited about it, right? I love football, obviously, but yeah, it's crazy. So that's what I'm excited about. Also, Bam Bam Sam says, love Monty, feed him the rock, but also don't know if we re-sign him. My feeling about it is, I say this every week, I feel, is I would not re-sign him if he's asking for like more than $5 million a year. Try and get him at a bargain because there's so many running backs out there. And yes, I know we have 120 million in cap space, but just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you should just spend it on a yacht, spend it on a boat, spend it on whatever you want. You want to make sure that you can use that money and invest it so you don't get into a bad situation where you have bad contracts. Also, Don Burr, welcome in as always, everyone's favorite Detroit fan. So let's see. I was wondering why the chat was going crazy. For those that listen, Don Burr is a huge Detroit fan and usually comes out here, and so then everyone's got to go at it. But let's go to my final takeaway. My final takeaway out here is, why wasn't David Montgomery out there more? Right? Like, why wasn't he playing? So he only got 14 carries for 79 yards, 5.6 average. And yes, I know that we weren't up by we were never super up or anything like that, but it was still a close game. And I don't know why we didn't try to at least just run the football a little bit more, because it worked. It was working and we just went away from it. And also, too, he did get 3 catches for 34 yards, which I feel we don't incorporate the running backs as much, mainly because Justin Fields, if he just needs to drop it off, then let's just run it, right? Let's just run it up the gut. So he's just going to tuck and run. So it was nice to see him at least pass it, but come on, you got to catch it. I wish that he was out there more. I wish Monty was running it more. That's just a little gripe that I have with Getsy overall. So let's see. Let's see what we end up doing. But also Pringle, great catch. I'm trying to see anything else. Cole Kmet, 3 catches, 27 yards. Yeah, nothing crazy out there from the stats. It was nice to see Claypool get a little bit more involved. There was a play too where Claypool and Pettis were kind of yelling at each other, and seems like somebody didn't know what was going on. I personally feel it was mainly Chase Claypool. It seemed like Claypool was like, I'm just going to be over here. Then right after he's like, so where was I supposed to be? I think it was more of a Chase Claypool thing than Dante Pettis, just because Pettis is very easy to blame. I still think it was Claypool that just didn't know where to be. So I'll kind of not blame Pettis for that, but he did make a big drop. But also Reload, I love you, Unbearable Sports. Yes, we go into the Super Bowl next year. I honestly think that the Bears have a good shot, right? Especially if we have the number 2 draft pick. You know what I mean? Like, if we have the number 2 draft pick and you can sign all these people, this is going to be a good team. And you have a running quarterback. Think about all the games we could have won if we would have. It's kind of like the Denver Broncos, if they could just score over 18 points, they would have all these wins. It's like if we could have just held people to under 30 points, we would have a lot more wins. So that's what I'm excited about. But let's flip over to my defensive side of the ball. And actually, it's not even defensive takeaways. It's just 5 more takeaways is what I'm calling this, because not all of these are specific to the defense. So my number 6 takeaway, and this is a big one. We need 6 new starters in the front 7, right? That's what I'm feeling. So we need 6 new starters in this front 7. And yes, we all know that the nickel defense is what we predominantly use. But the reason why I'm saying we need 6 new starters is because, like, you see everybody out there. I think Al-Qadim Muhammad is gone. That was actually going to be one of my takeaways is I think Al-Qadim Muhammad is gone. He's not showing you anything different. He's not showing all this craziness. He's gone. And you can save some extra money and get somebody else. Dominique Robinson is not going to be your starter. Travis Gibson could be out the door. I love Travis Gibson, but he just doesn't look that good inside of this defense. He's going to be a backup fighting for a roster spot come next year. We need 6 new people because also Nicholas Morrow doesn't look that great, right? He has some ups and downs, but you need to upgrade that, and he only has a 1-year deal. Justin Jones, I think, also is a backup style of player. I'd rather say, let's talk about what we're talking about at the top of the hour. We're talking about Jalen Carter, right? Get me Jalen Carter, give me Payne, right? Bring in these interior players and then have Justin Jones be the backup. Why not? That's when you start using your cash smart, right? Now you bring in all these really good players, and these other players, these kind of bad starters like a Justin Jones, those are then your backups. That's what I like to see. That's what I'm hoping these Bears can do. Let's talk about, and then linebackers obviously get new ones, but I do want to bring this up too, because Jake Capone, perfect segue, says Sanborn starting middle linebacker next season, right? What does everybody else think? Because you already know. Actually, I literally have my Wisconsin mug right here. This is a pro Jack Sanborn podcast. But what I also like to try and do is I want to try and be as realistic as possible. Jack Sanborn had a good game, right? Don't get it twisted. 15 tackles, 11 in the first half, 1 tackle for loss. He played very well. But the one thing that I do just want to bring up about him is you did see some of the tackle concerns that he had at Wisconsin. He has shorter arms, and sometimes if he's not able to fully wrap up, he doesn't really bring down the ball carrier. So that was something that you saw a couple times today, right? They were able to run all over us 158 yards, 4.9 yards average. Ty Johnson, a bigger guy that could just blow through these players. Sanborn had a little bit of a difficult time tackling. Does that mean that he should not be out there? Right? So that's my feeling, is that I feel like Jack Sanborn, I like him as the Sam, at least like a Sam linebacker, right? That's why I said 6 out of the 7, right? You bring in maybe 2 linebackers. That's my feeling. Bring in 2 new linebackers, and Sanborn can kind of compete for that. Because what you saw is a good linebacker that can play. And to me, I think a lot of people didn't know that he was going to be that good, and that's where it's so surprising. But realistically speaking, do I feel like I want him to be my starting linebacker going into next season? I get iffy about it, right? I love Jack Sanborn, obviously, but I think that's where it's kind of up in the air. I think they know more about the practice snaps, but I think that he's good. Can you get somebody that's a clear upgrade? I don't want to force it. That's where you really have to see if you're bringing someone in, is it a rookie for a competition, or is it a free? If it's a free agent, you need to know that he's better than Sanborn, and then you move Sanborn over to like the Sam linebacker position or something like that. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. But also my other takeaway that I have out here too is my number 8, I believe, is Blackwell as a special teamer. This is like a really, really lame takeaway, and I totally understand why this is lame. But I thought that Blackwell was going to be our starting slot corner. This is someone who did look pretty good in the preseason, not for the Bears, but I believe for the Colts at that slot corner position. And he wasn't a slot. We needed a slot corner because we saw Elijah Hicks out there, like what Renewable was talking about. We saw him play, and he was the safety. Dane Cruikshank goes down, who felt like kind of the backup. They put Jones in instead at the slot. So they must really, really like that Jones guy. But also, even when they put in some 3 safety sets when Cruikshank was still healthy, it still felt like, why isn't Blackwell at least getting some snaps? And the big reason is he's a special teamer. And I think that, even though that it sounds so weird to say, it is at least a key thing that I took away was this guy, I'm not going to expect him to be great out there. So we'll see. Lots of stuff happening in the comments. Lots and lots. So thank you, Reload, so much for that. Let's see what else we got out here too. So yeah, Bam Bam saying, I really want to see Brisker in the box. A few plays to see him wreck some havoc. Agreed. Really got to see him out there. Holy shit. It's going crazy. Get Tremaine Edmonds then. Loved what Jake Capone said. Agreed. He's going to be a free agent, and even like a Leighton Vander Esch, right? There's some good people out there that you could get. Renewable Jack Hammer was balling, a surrounding talent infusion. He's even better like in college. Like, yeah, he's darn good out there. Jerome Munoz saying Mooney injury, major. Oh, it was a major injury. We got more. Dang. So yeah, people in the comments. So Munoz is saying torn ligaments and he's out for a season. Dang. Breaking news on the pod. Thank you for bringing that up. That stinks. That really stinks that he's out. But I mean, hopefully, we got to look more into it, but hopefully he's at least going to be coming back, full health, and hopefully it's nothing too serious, but out for the season. Looks like I'm dropping him on my fantasy team. So that stinks. But let's go to my 9th takeaway out here. But thank you so much for bringing that up. That helps see what's going on with the Bears right now with the breaking news. But let's go to my 9th takeaway. Speaking of special teams, this is more the special teams segment. Bayless needs to catch a freaking kickoff, right? Like, did anybody else get mad at Velus Jones? Like, the ball is a foot away from you. Just pick it up and run it, right? Like, you are the kick returner. Return the kick. And it's not like it's way back. It's right at like 2 yards deep. Just get it and freaking run it, right? Like, that's what I want to see is you got to run it back. They want to see what you're capable of, and you aren't even trying it. It could also be this, if it's the special teams coordinator saying, don't return it, then something's wrong, right? What's the worst that's going to happen? If he fumbles it, then you know what you got. So to me, let the man return. Let him do whatever he wants back there. And you say, you do your thing. And if he feels like he can't return, then now you know what you have in Velus Jones, right? It's going to be a short career for this guy if he can't do anything, right? Like, what Bam Bam Sam said, you're fast. Get the ball. Like, just go. But yeah, also, we're getting to Claypool, get off the table and learn the playbook. That's what we got to see too. So I'm excited to see what we can do. But yeah, Velus, that was just something that really bugged me, is we see Dante Pettis returning punts and it's not that sexy. We got to see Velus out there. We got to see him playing some good football. But my final takeaway, and this is why it's just 5 more takeaways, not defense or offense or special teams. Number 5, number 10 takeaway is top 5 pick. Here we come. And Iceberg Slim in the comments saying, Will Anderson is made to be a Bear. Amen. Will Anderson is going to be a Bear, I feel. That's what's going on. Dom Burke, the Lions fan, is saying he's going to be a Lion. We'll see, because I guarantee you the Lions are probably going to want to pick a quarterback, since they really desperately need a quarterback out there. So I don't have big hands, but my hands are bigger than than Jared Goff's. So, but let's see. I like Will Anderson, but like we were saying, top 5 pick. The top 5 pick, why this means so much is if there's 3 quarterbacks that become the guy, right? Because there's already 2 quarterbacks. That's where you're talking about the quarterback out of Kentucky. If he can do more and if he can get better and more people start looking at him, now you have a larger demand for him. And hopefully if 3 quarterbacks can go in the top 5, you're getting Jalen Carter or you're getting Will Anderson. Personally, I like Will Anderson. I like what he's been able to do at Alabama. And obviously, if you can do that at Alabama, you're probably pretty good. you're probably the main guy. And Jalen Carter, I think he's solid, but a little banged up this year. And I don't know. I like just having a star edge rusher. Just give me that. A lot of the defensive interior players can be a little bit hit or miss, because so much of that can be so much based on your power, right? And I know there's not, the only thing that kind of sways me is there's not a lot of great interior defensive players. So that's, to me, why Jalen Carter seems enticing. But overall, it's like you just want to hit. Yeah, Iceberg Slim, it's a win-win with them too. Exactly. Like, no matter what you do. And that's the big difference, because I know some people will say, well, draft picks aren't guaranteed. There is a huge difference between kind of the blue chip prospects. Like, I remember Roquan Smith when we drafted him, because so many people wanted Leighton Vander Esch or Tremaine Edmonds. And those people they kind of had this seeable upside, but a lower floor. While Roquan Smith was this guy that you knew had a high floor. He was the superstar on the best defense. And now you have Will Anderson, a superstar on one of the best defenses. And he's been this superstar for them for quite some time. Like, there is a significant higher floor and a safer pick when you go after one of those players. But hopefully we can be in that top 5, because you're either getting a blue chip prospect or you're able to trade down and accumulate more picks. I'd be fine if we traded down and then got extra first rounders. It's not sexy this year, but that's how you can start building a team. And if you trade one of those ones for some player next year, like a wide receiver, I'm all for it, right? It's a win. It's not necessarily like super win now, but the reason why I don't think the Bears would go after a quarterback is because if the Bears most likely are going to get a top 5 pick, if they still lose this year, Matt Eberflus is gone. That's not a hot take. If you can't win with a good quarterback, and you're gone. So for the Bears, I think ultimately they get these big big players. And Renewable says, to quote the great Fat Joe, trade back. I like it. Exactly. And we know we got someone that wants to trade back. That's the big thing here. So what we need to root for is we need to root for other teams to be bad teams to win so that we can get a top pick. So the big thing that's a little scary though, too, is the Bears have the hardest schedule. And what that means is that if we have the hardest schedule, if there's four teams that have 3 wins, we get the worst pick because they say, well, you lost to the best teams, so you're really not that bad. So that's what they're saying out there. So, but guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much right now for everything. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving out there too. Mine was awesome. Ate all the turkey in the world. I just combine everything all together and just mix it all up. I feel like that's the only way to eat it. And just make a little concoction of Thanksgiving goodness. But I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Rate 5 stars if you're listening to it out there in podcast land. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we're out.